Paula, let's start off with introducing you a bit. Paula is the head of the investment promotion at Invest Hong Kong. You're a board member of the Netherlands Hong Kong Business Association, and you are a long-term internationalization expert. And if I may say so, because I researched you a bit, obviously, before having this fireside chat with you, you have experiences from Singapore, Taiwan, Indonesia, Netherlands, Spain, Libya, and New Zealand. That is wonderful. How did that come?
Well, my husband would say I'm too silly to have a job in one place. But no, it is really because I've always loved being involved in growing business development. And for all those who are here, Asia is the fastest growing region. I wanted to get to know it.
See, that's interesting because I spent 24 years as an expat, lived in 8 different countries for more than a year, up to 7 years, worked in 20 countries plus, but never really in Asia, only in the Middle East. That's as far as I made it.
You're still young, Gert. There's a future.
Let us talk about China. China is a huge opportunity for everybody. Everybody talks about it. You just said right now that China and Asia is a huge opportunity. China does not work according to the European playbooks, and we have to adjust to the European playbooks. And in order to have this step a bit easier, usually companies from Europe tend to look into Hong Kong before they look into China. So that is one of the gaps that we're addressing. Is Hong Kong really like that? Is it the alternative? Is it kind of compliant? Is it dual connectivity? And how can founders de-risk the capital and build the compliance in there? With that, Paula, let me just go in first of all, talking a bit about how many companies are actually addressing you, are actually coming to Hong Kong. How many companies are in Hong Kong actively from the fintech and banking sector?
If we look at the fintech arena, it's like a little over 1,200, 1,200. Of these 1,200, half are startups, so around 600 startups. So the others are scale-ups, or SMEs, bigger fintechs.
How many of those startups are actually scale-ups, as you say? How many are relatively young startups?
Of the 12...
what's your typical customer when it comes to a startup?
I would say out of the 1,200 fintechs, half are startups, the others are bigger.
Yeah, okay. So let us look a bit at Hong Kong's role as a gateway. It looks different for fintech, and we talked beforehand a bit about it. Specifically compared to other sectors, when they go to Hong Kong, when the companies move to Hong Kong, what are the real fintech differences that you see coming up?
What I see really is that for fintechs, Hong Kong is the market, right? It's financial center number 3 in the world. So for fintechs, actually Hong Kong is where they want to be. I have seen some fintechs go more into China. But for that to work, you have to go into like an acceleration program where you will often find 2 things: potential business partners for mainland China, as well as investors. So for many other sectors, Hong Kong is a gateway to China. If I'm a trader, if I have a sourcing company in Hong Kong, then it's a gateway to China. For fintechs, often Hong Kong is the destination.
Yeah. So we spoke a bit beforehand about it. When startups, scale-ups come to you, when they come to Hong Kong, what is actually the best entry point into Hong Kong apart from talking to you?
Well, there's a Hong Kong FinTech Week, so I highly recommend to participate. First week of November this year, and anybody who wants to go, we can get you free tickets. Another very important element of our organization are the sector teams. We have a specialized fintech team in Hong Kong, so they can give all the information. They can put you in touch with the regulator if you need a license, right? The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the Securities and Futures Commission. We help with visa application and following up on that. So I would say you entrepreneurs, if you have the plan, and if it's 80 to 85% ready, we can roll it out.
Just move in, do it, take the step. All right, you already gave me a very good buzzword right now. You said something about regulatory. We have huge differences in regulatory frameworks in Europe, and in China and in Hong Kong as well. What are kind of the best ways to learn about that framework? How do you best get into the regulatory framework? Do you have to be completely 100% ready beforehand? Is it learning on the spot?
I would say Hong Kong has always been very agile and smart with regulations, right? They tend to look at other leading jurisdictions. So they look at the EU, they look at the US, and then they make their own version, right? If we look at like crypto and stable coins, really what they do in Hong Kong is a little bit a combination of the EU, MiCAR and all those regulations and the Genius Act. So if you are compliant in the EU and possibly in the US, you're most likely a long way on being compliant in Hong Kong.
Okay. So if the rest is missing, you say a long way, you're already there. The rest is missing. Are you the one supporting? Is there a special, or is it kind of from institutional side that you get support? Which way is the best way to get the support as a startup, as a scale-up into the regulatory framework of Hong Kong and China?
I would say talk to us and we put you in touch with the right regulator. And we will actually make the appointment for you. Like a payment company that needs a money service operating license. My fintech colleagues will check what you have.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, okay, now you're at a point where I can make an appointment for you with the people who can help get you the license in Hong Kong. Or they will say, okay, if I see what you're doing, this might be tricky here, please work on that. But they're really good.
If you have to go for one big misconception about the regulatory framework in Hong Kong and China, what would be the one big differentiator that startups, scale-ups from Europe do not look at, but is a huge difference in between the systems?
I would say one big misconception is that Hong Kong is China. Hong Kong is part of China, but has its own commercial laws, its own mini constitution. You know, Hong Kong is a very easy place to do business, and it's completely built on Commonwealth legislation. So what you see in Singapore, what you see in the UK, you see it in Hong Kong and the other way around.
Yeah. When you recommend to scale-ups to come into Hong Kong, what do you recommend to them? Like first get a taste, set up a business unit immediately, incorporate, employ someone local. What are the first steps that scale-ups should take?
I would say first go and visit Hong Kong, right? It's important you go and get connected, but also go and tell us because we can help fill your agenda, right? Go around an event that makes sense. So to set up an entity is so quick and so easy, only 8 to 10 days. Set up the entity when you have the plan almost ready. It's so smooth that you don't need to set up an entity in an early stage. Set it up when you also your regulatory path has been done, or your path into a sandbox, and get as soon as you can a Hong Kong staff member. Not because you cannot find your way in Hong Kong, right? English and Cantonese are official languages, but because that Hong Konger thinks like your clients. Yeah. So, and last tip, it may be very obvious. If you have a major bank as a client here in Europe or in the US, check if that client has an office in Hong Kong. 70 of the 100 biggest banks are there. So it's always smart to go with a key client if you can.
So would you actually go out of Hong Kong as a fintech? Would you do that to go to mainland China? Or would you recommend rather to stay in China as kind of an entity in the beginning?
I think there's so much business in Hong Kong that you can have live happily in Hong Kong for a couple of years. I would first use the Hong Kong market. And then with your Hong Kong team, you plan the rollout into China, if that is one of your objectives.
Yeah. So I personally, I guess we didn't talk about it. I'm a business angel with my own holding, with an investment, with a portfolio of startups where half of the startups are already scaling. I've been in the game for 10 years. One thing I always talk to with the startups is basically validate your market. But then I tell them immediately the market doesn't validate you, only your ICP, your customer, your ideal customer profile validates you. So I always talk to them on, say, like you go with a beachhead, then you go with the first market, second, third market. And when you go then international, this is where you have to validate every time for new. How big do you see the differences if we talk now Hong Kong and China in terms of validation of the market? Will that be kind of a harsh awakening for the scale up, or will it be kind of similar?
I think Hong Kong is the much more interesting market for everything financial, right? In mainland China, anything financial services and fintech is controlled by the government. So the possibilities are more limited. At the same time, in terms of customers, it's a vast market, right? So I would say, go to Hong Kong, get established there, get into an acceleration program, and then branch out.
Okay, wonderful. Excellent.
And Gert, you're very much invited to Hong Kong FinTech Week. I would like to see you there. And let me know. We can get you a ticket, and maybe you can moderate panels there.
That would be great. But let me get you one last question. We're going to make it quick. And the one question that did not come up yet, but is an important one that you will always get in the first talk: cultural differences. How should scale-ups actually approach companies in Hong Kong? Is it like, like London, all the business metropolis that are there in the world, London, New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, they're all the same? Or is it already culturally a completely different approach that they have to take?
Well, it's one practical skill that it's good to learn to eat with chopsticks, because people will appreciate if you make that effort. But no, joking aside, business in Hong Kong is very much a face-to-face thing, right? So Hong Kong is fast, Hong Kong is dynamic, but business, it's still face-to-face, right? So I would say you cannot do any business over the internet. If you're going to sell your solution, your approach to fintech or financial services, go out there. In my experience, any Hong Kong person you meet and you say, actually, I'm from Romania, I'm from Austria, I'm from Poland, and I want to conquer the world, and I start with you here, people will say, shoot, this is an entrepreneur. I'm at least happy to give that entrepreneur half an hour.
No fear. It all starts with your mindset.
Absolutely.
Absolutely great. I see I have to go back to Hong Kong. I've been there already. I have to go back to Hong Kong. Thank you very much for all the insights you gave to us.